Hello. Hello, Josiah.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Peter. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm all right. So actually, you're the only person attending this meeting, so it's just you and me, okay?
Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Why don't we do introductions? Tell me, how long have you been working for Cheongdam? Is this your first term, second term?
This is my first term.
This is
So,
your first term.
or finishing my first term, sorry. So, and then we'll be going into my second term. So,
Okay. Okay. What programs did you teach this term?
I did Mega, Giga, Terra, and Eagle for
Okay.
C1. So,
That's a nice little range there.
yeah.
Okay. Where are you from originally?
Minnesota, back in the United States. So,
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, let me just tell you a little bit of myself. My name is Peter. I've been working for the company probably about a decade now, almost 10 years. I don't know. I've taught pretty much almost everything, including the B2 program. So today we're going to go over this. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome. You're the only person to talk up. Otherwise, usually I just ask people to type in the chat box. Do you see the chat box there in your window?
yes, I do.
Okay, so you'll be able to access this through the FTP once the new term starts, but I'm going to send you the segment guide. A lot of the things that I'll be talking about will be about what's in the segment guide, as well as some of my own teaching tips and suggestions. But you're welcome to open that up or take a look at it a little bit later on after our meeting, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Also, if you have any questions, and you can ask your FM or HI, but if you want to, you're welcome to email me after the meeting also. My email, I'll write it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my email, cdlmokdong@gmail.com. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're going to be going over the B2 low mid levels. It's very similar to the higher levels, but there is some minor differences, but I'm going to be just focusing on the B2 Terra because that's also what the guide, the segment guide will also be covering, just so that it makes a little bit of sense when you're looking through it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so it's very similar to like a C1 class in certain cases. I don't know if this is going to load. Hold on. Let me change this. I'm gonna try B2. I've been having problems with the all right, there we go. It loaded. I don't know why. It just did all of a sudden. I didn't even click any. Okay, so if you look here, there are three main components: the ESL vocabulary, the novel workshop, and the test prep section. Okay. So in a 3-hour class, you're going to be going over all three sections, okay? Now, if you look and if you can tell, there are the purple sections and then there are the white sections, okay? So it's important to realize this and it's important to plan your whole lecture because the purple sections will be timed sections, okay? Meaning just like when you do your vocabulary test, you know how you have to start the lesson, then it gets sent to the books, to the students, and then they can begin the process of whatever the component is. So just so you know, like, for example, a lot of my new teachers, they had an issue. They'd come to me, they'd be like, oh, the book's not sending. Why isn't it sending? The reason is because you haven't sent them the component yet to begin it, just like in the vocab test that you do, okay? All right, so all these purple sections are also what the guide calls the battle mode. Basically what that means is in the battle mode, it's a time sections, students are supposedly competing against each other. Okay, and I'll go into further depth with the, as we go through the sections. But just like in the vocab test, they'll tell you the top 3 students, okay, based either on the most correct or based on the fastest time.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to get right into it, and I'm going to go into the first section. So obviously the first section we can see here, we just go straight down, is the collocation matching section. Basically all this is there's words and vocabulary based on either their high school or middle school exams or testing. So basically what they want to do is they want to simply match, okay? They click just like on the vocab test, and they match it with their English to the Korean phrases. The thing is here though, they have to be careful, because if they make a mistake, they get like a 5-second penalty. And that's how they can, like, you know, that's the battle mode, right? So if a student just wants to go crazy and try to just like guess, like click, 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 there's no way that they're going to get this in the first place or be able to win in the competition between the students, okay? So keep that in mind, and you're going to want to tell students that also, okay? Here, you're welcome to go over. Personally, I might go over a few of these phrases before. I actually have them give the test, especially on the first day, because I want them to understand. You do have a play function here, especially for the lower levels. That way they can listen to the words, right? If you look right here.
Eating a balanced diet.
Okay, that was very loud. Was that very loud for you?
Oh, it's all right.
That was extremely loud. Hold on. Okay, so here you can actually play the phrases. So you can go through the phrases, right, with the students, okay? You can do this beforehand. I'll usually do it like at the beginning of the term. I'll go over just before. That way they can kind of like match them up a little bit quicker. And then as they become more comfortable with the component and they know what to do, I'll say like ready, set, go, and make it a quick competition, okay? All right. So if you look here, there's only really one page. There could be 2 pages depending on what the lesson is or what level you're doing, okay? Now for each section, right, the purple and blue sections, if you look, there's 1 section for each, right? So we're in the collocation. So all you do is you press the next, and then it's going to jump you to the next section, if it lets me. I don't know, the teacher's portal has been a little bit slow. So I just went back, okay, and then I map completion, okay? Okay, so the map completion, here, this is just basically giving students the idea of the hierarchy of basically what we focus on in basically all our skill-based lessons. What is the main idea? What major details support those main ideas? Topic, thesis, pretty similar to what you're doing in your C1 program probably every single day with the upside down pizza, the cheongdan pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the only difference is when you look at the guide, there'll be different types of map completions. There'll be like a narrative, or it'll be a reading or something of that difference. So there's, I think, about 3 different ones that you'll be going over the patterns, and that'll help them and help you prepare before the lesson on how to maybe express or explain these ideas. What is the main idea? I think it's expository, and there's a narrative type, right? So they're going to have to be able to identify the differences, okay? Then all you do is pretty simple, is you're going to go over the details and go over, right, what could be the topic. What are we talking about here, right? So, hey guys, right, eating a balanced diet, what does that mean? Are we doing a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, we're being healthy maybe, right? Here, when we sleep well, if I don't get enough sleep, how do I feel? Oh, I feel really bad, right? So here, these are good things or bad things we should do. Oh, they're really good things we should do. Okay, let's take a look here. Having healthy habits, is that a good thing or bad thing for me to do? Josiah, is that good or bad?
Good.
That's good. Excellent. So, right. How about, studying late at night? Is it good to stay really late at night and study all night? Is that good or bad?
Bad.
Yeah, right. We don't want to stay up late. We need to get rest, right? That way we can, right? How about exercise? Do you guys like to exercise? Josiah, do you like to exercise?
Not really, no.
No, not really. Okay, but is it good for you?
Yes, it is.
Good. So notice, and then maybe you can eliminate this one because this one is bad, right? Okay. Then you can help them get the idea of what is like a topic and which one supports that one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you'll have the light bulbs and stuff like that. Here again, especially, I don't think you'll need this as much for like the terras, but maybe if you're teaching a very, very low level mega class, right? For them, having them actually listen and repeat certain phrases can help them, right? Here, I think basically a terra, they'd be able to just speak it themselves, and you could probably give them some corrections if they're making mistakes, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So here, there's 2 of those. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Okay, you're more than welcome to add media cards to these sections, but keep in mind these are time sections, right? And they are the purple sections. So with these, you're going to have to, just like the test, upload their scores and stuff like that. Okay, so you want to keep timing, and I'll explain that towards the end, why timing is so important. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much it. This is just the ESL vocabulary. Remember, these are words based in their middle school or high school testing that they should start acquiring. That way they can do better on those exams, okay? Okay, now here we have the novel workshop. Now here, it's really a mixture. It's basically kind of like the whole program is to help them with their schooling at home. The novel workshop, the way, if you look at it, there's vocabulary, there's reading, and then there's writing and speaking, okay, along with literary exercises. The idea is basically students will be asked to write essays in their normal schooling. And writing these essays, they need to have ideas, they need to refer to things, so therefore they need to become better readers, they need to become more knowledgeable about concepts and ideas. And these novels are supposed to give them a piece of it, okay? It's not an actual novel though, okay? It's not like a V1 class if you're doing those, or a C2 high class, right? There is no book. The book is in here, okay? And it's a very, very little bit of the book, okay? Okay, so here, again, you're gonna start off with some vocabulary, okay? Now, this vocabulary sheet, there'll be a printout that you're gonna give, okay? So that they can test, or sorry, they can study for this the class before, right?
Okay.
The week before. So on the FTP, they'll have the vocabulary list. You need to print out 2 lists per lesson.
Okay.
Okay. They'll be clearly labeled. They'll say like week, I think they say W1, W1, W2, W2, because there's 2 of them. Okay. So you'll provide these printouts for them so that way they can study. That way these words aren't totally new to them. Okay.
Okay.
So here, these words are words that are directly related to the reading that's coming up in the novel. Okay. Here, because of that, you might get more like, you know, collocations and other types of words that are not normal to the students' normal vocabulary. For example, the word whack, right? This isn't a normal, like, you know, vocabulary word that they're always going to be looking at. So here we're going to be looking at these words. So they might need some more help with these ones. And you might want to provide your own media cards to try to explain what whack means and stuff like that. Okay. So just keep a note that these words will be a little bit different. Okay. Let's see if it's working. Okay. So here, okay. Goofy, slip and slide, slick and slippery. So if you can tell, these words are a little bit different. Really, like I said, they're meant so that when they read the novel, right, they'll have a better understanding of what the concepts are, okay? Why does this keep doing that? Okay. Okay, so now we get to the novel reading workshop, okay? Again, this is a timed portion. This is, so I'm gonna tell you what the guide says. The guide basically says that here, that you're just supposed to kind of play this, okay? There's a little play button up here.
Clap, clap.
And students are just supposed to follow along, okay? As they follow along, they're supposed to afterwards, and this again is a time section, they're supposed to write in the missing phrase, okay, or the missing word that goes, that they can find from the story into these boxes, okay? If they get the word correct, then the word box will be a blue lettering, but if they get it incorrect, it'll be a red lettering. And it could be wrong because the word is wrong, but it could also be wrong because of spelling or grammar mistakes, okay? Personally, especially on the first day, I would not do it this way. I don't like just playing this audio. And you can talk to your FM or your HI or your BM or whoever your manager is and see what they say, and maybe they'll have a recommendation. But personally, I think there's a great time to interact with the students. I think it's a great time to get them to read. For me personally, this book has a lot of phrases. It has some sound effects in them, maybe clap, clap, maybe have them all clap, stuff like that, because you want them to enjoy the reading a little bit. And just listening, I don't think as well as the person who does reading it, I don't think they're going to have as much focus on it. So depending on their level, I might have them read just a single sentence or two, or I might have them go by paragraphs. I also find that most of my students are pretty excited to read. It's a great way to interact. So they're, oh, teacher, you didn't call on me. I wanted to. Okay. And this will help you, especially for the next sections. Okay. Because you can focus on specific sentences. For example, let's say just the first sentence, and this is all in your preparation, keep in mind. Okay. Cleaning erasers was the perfect classroom chore for Roger. Okay. So who are we talking about? Josiah, who?
Roger.
Roger, right? And Roger's in the classroom and he has a job. He has a chore. What's his job? What does he do?
Cleaning erasers.
Good. And Josiah, what's Peter teacher's job? What's my job?
Teaching.
Good. Josiah, does your parents, do they give you any jobs in the house? Do you have any chores?
I have to clean dishes sometimes.
Oh, okay. That's a good chore. My parents used to make me take out the trash and stuff. Okay. All right. So notice I can, because we're not just listening to the woman read, I can focus on this sentence. Okay. All right. And then as I go through, like, I won't focus on everything. Obviously, this is a timed amount. And remember, they'll get better and better. Right. And then here you'll do this. I'll do the same thing. Who are we talking about? Oh, Roger. Right. Roger, what enjoyed nothing more than, that means you enjoy it a lot. Right. What is the one thing that he enjoyed? Right. And then you can elicit from students. And that way, the stronger students can help other students. Okay. I have no idea what those percentage marks are, but okay. So there's usually more than one page of reading, so you should be able to get more than one student to read, right? I'll be honest with this. I usually let the timer just run out, and then I just like whatever, okay? Even though there is a timer up there, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we did the reading, okay? And basically, this just asking for like a single word or single phrase, some comprehension. And I usually make my own comprehension questions and stuff like that. Okay. Here, this is where if you had focused on maybe specific parts of the reading, okay, what they're doing is they took parts of the sentence and parts of the readings and they put them into chunks. Okay. And then what you need to do is help them, okay, figure out how to put this sentences in the proper structure. Okay. I always recommend that you do, especially in the beginning, maybe one or two of them as a class. Okay. And you can use any skills that you feel comfortable with, grammar skills, right? Punctuation skills, and basically just elicit from students what the best way to put the sentence together. Okay. And then all they need to do is click and they just can drag over the proper parts. Okay. Here, because this is the teacher's portal, it's just going to put it in the proper order for me. Okay. So here, same sentence. Who? Oh, yeah, Roger. What did he do? What was the one thing he liked enjoying? Oh, making messes. Oh, that's not good. You shouldn't make them, right? So here, that's pretty much all they're going to do. But this is where it's a little bit easier. If you went through the reading and maybe broke it up, they'd already understand those sentences and understand what they want. So whenever I'm asking a who, right, or a where, they're like, oh, yeah, I got that one, right? Okay. Okay. You can sometimes also, depending on what your policies are there, sometimes I might have them do it in groups.
Okay.
Okay. Especially for lower levels, some of the students, they'll just have a lot of difficulties with getting this done. Okay. Do you know what level you'll be teaching it, or you don't know?
I do not know yet.
Okay, no problem. So You can, like I said, WH questions, grammar-based questions. It's not really that difficult. Like obviously, like capital letters will be the beginning of the sentence. But these are important things that if you've seen their writing so far, like they totally forget to do a lot. Okay. Okay. So if you look here, the first 5 things from the ESL vocabulary to the novel workshop are all time components. Keep in mind when you're looking at the time breakdown that if you go overtime, so for me, for example, the reading section, I definitely go overtime, okay? So therefore, I'm going to have to eliminate, right, time from other areas. The area that you will eliminate from are mostly the white sections because the white sections are not timed, okay? And there is no grade to be uploaded, okay? So the writing exercise, now this is where, again, if I had focused on, for example, that first sentence, right? I already had this one done just by going over the reading section, right? I said, oh yeah, remember cleaning erasers, da, da, da. Okay, but what does anyone remember? What did we say? Or what did you say, right? Oh, I said, what do I do again, Josiah? What's my job?
Teaching.
Good, so teaching was the perfect job. The perfect job for who? Who am I?
For teacher.
Yeah, for Peter. Sorry, I put it wrong box. Okay. So here, and Josiah, you said that you have a job. What is your job at home?
Washing dishes.
Good. Washing dishes was the perfect job for who?
Josiah.
Good, but it would be a chore, right? So here, this is where it's just a little bit easier. And also, for me personally, once I know what a student can do and I know already their idea, it's a lot easier to like go back and be like, oh yeah, remember that? What did you do? Oh yeah, great. You can just write that right in. We're done. Great job. Again, I would have, I'd go over 1 or 2 with them as a class. At times, maybe even, depending on the amount of time, like I said, the white areas we can cut some time out of, right? This is where I might say, okay, I just want you to do maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't do number 5 or number 6 right now. Okay, we don't have time for it. Oh, all right. So there are 2 pages of it. Okay. And this section is rather repetitive. The whole thing is repetitive, but especially in these next 2 parts, it's almost going to be identical. Okay. So once you do the writing, so basically they're just making their own sentences, internalizing it. You might want to pick ones that you think especially will be a little bit more fun. I don't know if you know, do you remember Mad Libs?
Yes.
Okay, I always think of this as like a Mad Lib exercise, and I always thought that'd be really fun. Unfortunately, they don't know all like the grammar words, so you have to usually use more like a WH question. I've even done things where like you can have like a random wheel, like what are you gonna put, right? Da, 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 da. Oh, we'll put your mom, we'll put your dad, da, 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 right? And then it's funny what the story comes. What I like about these also is the story, it's not a full story, so it doesn't have to be cohesive. It doesn't have to make sense. Sentence number 1 doesn't have to match sentence number 2. It could be totally different people. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you did the writing exercise. We're going to the speaking exercise. The speaking exercise is basically the identical thing. Okay. If you look here, it's basically the same thing, except it's not giving us the original sentences. It's just giving us the phrases, okay? And in this one, okay, it is hopefully, though you'll get some crazy things, it is supposed to make a logical story, okay? It can be rather hard, even for myself. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, like, well, I need a word. So it's really important to prepare this and be able to also maybe let your students know that you can make modifications, okay? Because it's going to be really hard for them to match the grammar as well as, you know, the sentence structure and keep a cohesive story. Here, you can definitely put things in groups, okay? For this section also, there is a specific grading. So I'm not going to go over all the grading, but make sure you look very carefully at the guide on what needs to be graded, because you need to put grades in every single day almost, okay?
Okay.
Okay, it's not like every 3 weeks like the other programs, but for this one, students are also supposed to be provided a speaking rubrics grading. And what's supposed to happen is the students are supposed to grade each other. Okay, I don't really do the grading system. I grade it on my own system because I don't think the students have the ability to really grade each other, but I will ask for feedback, right? Because they're supposed to actually speak this and present this. That's the most important thing, right? Because this is the speaking section. So basically, usually what I'll do is I'll give students certain criteria, like who was the easiest to hear? Oh, why could you hear them? Were they loud or did they speak very clearly? Okay, who was the most creative? Oh, why were they creative? Were they funny? Was it imaginative, right? And that way they can like give like clear feedback, like, oh, I think Josiah was the best speaker because 1, he spoke very loud. 2, I thought his story was very funny. Oh, what did you think was funny about Josiah's story? Oh, it was funny how the dog bit the cat, blah, 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 right? And then your feedback from the students will be a lot easier.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So for the speaking, like I said, be careful. Do not just be like, have some plan. There's many different ways you can, like I said, like have some type of idea already brewing. You can also have maybe some type of theme to the story. It could be based on the novel if you want, or it could be something else, okay? So here, it could be about a job, about things that you'd like to do, stuff like that. But if you just say, hey guys, just get into groups 1, 2, and go for it. It's just not going to be as satisfying. The stories aren't going to be as funny. I like the mistakes. I think the mistakes make it kind of enjoyable. It's like they'll say the darndest things. You can have them, use some new vocabulary and stuff like that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And remember, this is where most of my teachers, I'll tell them, and myself, write some notes on individual students. That way, when you go back at the end of the day, you can input scores easily and remember what they did. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions so far? Good.
Doing all right so far. So.
Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay. So here, this is present your story to the class, right? And then this is, I use the presenter. I don't use these. It was confident. The clear, interesting. I put creative, stuff like that. And I just ask for feedback. I don't ask for every student to give every student feedback. Just I'll call on 2 or 3 for each one. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So then we move to the literary expressions or literary exercises. Okay. You're going to have about 3 expressions, okay, that you're going to need to go over. Here are the model sentences that they give you up on the top. And then their job is to write their own sentences again. Okay. Here, it is important for them to kind of get these ideas. So what they do is they do provide you, I clicked this bottom box here. I don't know if you saw, but it says example. Okay. And it actually gives you some examples. Honestly, I don't think they're bad examples, but I think maybe you can make better examples, make a media card or something that would be maybe even 1, more fun for your students once you get to know them, or 2, maybe more relatable to their age group or something of that nature, right? So my younger sister enjoyed nothing more than lying around house reading books. I don't think most students are laying around the house reading books these days. So you might want to say something else like playing video games, stuff like that, okay? I'd also say you don't need to use actual sentences. You can also use images and stuff like that, like playing video games on their cell phone, I don't know, eating, sleeping on the couch. Like, what do you like to do? Stuff like that. What do you enjoy? Nothing more than anything. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But the examples are okay. I don't think they're horrible. They get to the point, but you can make it a little bit more fun. Okay. I think this one pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that is the novel workshop. So that's pretty much the novel that they read. It's really only 2 pages of the whole book, but the novel will continue throughout the whole term.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now we get to the test prep section. The test prep section, and this is where your timing is extremely important, because if you look, the last 2 parts of the test prep are a the battle mode, if they say, right? Which means you have to upload the scores for them. So if you don't manage your time, okay, based on the guide, then that means that they won't have a grade. And I don't know about you, but my branch, it's very important that students get all their grades submitted in time. Otherwise, parents are a little upset. And so you really want to make sure that you give them that time for the practice, because you also don't want to say, oh, guys, I'm sorry, we don't have enough time to give you. Just get it done as quickly as you can, because then they'll go home like, you know, oh, teachers didn't give us, I got a bad score. Okay. So you really want to make sure that you've managed your time throughout the whole day in that sense. Okay. And especially on the first day, you're going to maybe want to skip a good amount of, like, for example, like I said, the writing, maybe writing exercise, skip a few of those, even the speaking, shorten it up. Okay. And even the literary exercise, because you're usually doing your welcome letter, your rules, and establishing all those things. And you're also explaining them a lot of the concepts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you look, there is listening and reading, and this basically breaks down into basically test prep, which is very much based off of their admissions in their normal regular schools. But have you taught any TOEFL classes yet? IBT TOEFL or TOEFL junior classes?
No, I'm not.
Okay, but you've taught C1, so a lot of the skills that you use in C1 will be relatable to here, okay? Also, you've done the achievement test this term?
Yes.
Okay, so these are going to be very similar to what they need to do on the achievement test, okay? So each section, they start off with a strategy. For the strategy, you'll be focusing on different question types, okay? So usually they start off with an explanation of the question type. It's really important, especially for the younger students and also for other programs, that sometimes these are just a little bit wordy, okay? Make it a little bit simpler for them, okay? So what is the main idea? It's what the whole thing is about, okay? It's like, right? You can give them simple examples. An example I give, for example, is something like, oh, if I was gonna talk about me, I'm the topic, Peter teacher, right? And then what do I want to say about me? Oh, I love teaching for 3 reasons. Okay, who's I? Peter teacher, right? And then help them understand those ideas. Here, this is important, especially for the lower levels who don't know, just to identify what question type it would be, okay? Here, the main topic, mainly talking about, main idea, main point, title, or headline. Title and headline are more popular for the lower levels, okay?
Okay.
So this would be like mega, giga, but for the more higher levels, they'll see questions more look like this, okay? I'm sorry.
Hello, it's currently...
Okay, so everything just went off at once. Okay. Okay, so then here is the strategy. They just give you, okay, a basic, simple breakdown of the strategy and how it goes, okay? This is pretty self-explanatory. Basically what you do also in your C1, if you ever look at the workbooks break it down, and the workbook will, in the beginning of each lesson, okay? And then you're given some practice question, okay? So here's the example question. This is the play button here. So here, the play button.
Colin, why are you here lifting weights again?
I keep turning it down. Okay. For the scripts, all the scripts are here for you in this little box,
Okay.
which is kind of nice. You'll see this box in a couple of areas, so that way you can look at it. I don't use this during the class. I use this for my prep. And it's not, oh, there we go, okay? So that way I know, and I can go over this with them, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so here's the second question type that you'll be focusing on for this level, right? So the first one is main idea, this one is the purpose, okay? You can focus on 1, 2, usually no more than like 2 or 3 question types per lesson, okay? So it's gonna go over the same thing, how to do it. Here for purpose, notice tone, stuff like that. Okay, again, another example question, okay? So then after you go over the strategy part, they're going to have some exercises. Again, these are just practice exercises. Depending on how well the students are doing or how well you feel they're doing, you can obviously not go over all of these. I do believe the guide says that if you're running out of time, you should assign these as homework. Okay. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it does. Okay. So one thing though, and this is for the exercises as well as the actual simulations and stuff. It's not wrong because actually for certain standardized tests, just so you know, being able to fill in these just blank parts is a type of test question that they'll see, for example, on like IELTS or other admissions tests. But for the TOEFL Junior, the achievement test, there was really no area of the test that they're really going to have to do this specifically, right?
Yeah.
So what I'll usually do is I'll ask them to bring a notebook on the first day, or I'll give them paper. And I really want to also focus on note-taking skills, okay? So I'll usually have eyes on teacher for this, okay? And it could be up, that's okay. I'll press the play button and I'll be writing notes on the board, teaching them different ways to do it, shorten words, right? Using symbols, because that way also they'll have the notes and then they can view them and answer the questions, and I can show them where, okay? In the notes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's not totally wrong because there are certain tests, and in their normal school admissions, they will have to do this. So I wouldn't say you have to do it all the time, but I definitely want them to get more note-taking skills abilities, okay? Here, there's 3 exercises, okay? Main idea and purpose, okay?
Okay.
Does that seem unusual or strange? You said you taught Mega and Giga, right?
Mega, Giga, Terra, and Eagle. So
Okay. So even with, honestly, even with like the Giga level, right? Or the Mega level, where they still have those boxes and stuff, I still don't, I do the same thing. I always just try to get them to use note-taking skills as soon as possible, at least a little bit, okay?
yeah.
But then for the test, they're more than welcome to look at those stuff, okay? Okay. And just like I said, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. Each question, if you look, they have the script there for you. If it clicks, there you go. So it's important to, don't forget, like if you notice, we're focusing on conversations first. The listenings will change what they're focusing on. But here, again, there's no fill in the blank. There's no already pre-made table for them. So this is why I like to have them practice writing notes, okay? Okay. Remember, this is timed, okay? And it seems like for this one, there's only 6 questions. Double check, make sure you play. I think they fixed it, but I do know that in some levels, sometimes there have been an issue where when you play this button here, it doesn't match the scripts. It happens very rarely, but just in your prep, I'd always just like click it once and just make sure. Otherwise, you'll be playing it and you'll be like, hey, what's going on? And your students, I don't know, just as a fix, basically what we did was I just opened up this script. I did like, block the screen, and I just was both people. Hey, Steve, what do you like about? It took a long time though. But yeah, and then obviously with anything, you want to proctor. You want to make sure that everyone is writing notes, everyone's answering the questions okay. And then you want to be able to go over, you want to justify your answers, okay? Especially for the lower levels, you'll notice that there's a lot of repetition. So break down the answer choices as well as the question type using the skills that you did. Oh, what type of question? Oh, it's a main idea question. Good. Oh, wait a second. Who are we talking about? Good. Thomas Jefferson. Okay, what are the differences, right? And then help them break down why is one answer correct and why was one answer maybe incorrect. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on that?
Oh, I think I'm good.
Okay. Keep in mind, you should prepare to justify all answers, but it doesn't mean you will need to justify all answers. So if all students get it correct, just ask, call on a student, hey, what was this, da da da, why is it right, great job, let's move. Okay, usually find the ones that they most are incorrect, the most of your students. Okay. It's pretty much self-explanatory, same thing. Okay, reading strategies. The good thing is though, and where it makes it a little bit easier is, so if you remember for the listening, we actually went over this type of question. So therefore you can now elicit from students, hey, remember, what do we say a main idea type of question is, blah, blah, blah. How can we identify it? So this should go a little bit quicker. Most of the time the questions will match up for reading and listening, but not all the questions. Okay. So therefore, like, this whole first page is identical to what the listening was. It's just a different color, and it's based on reading. Okay. Same thing. Okay. Okay. Again, they'll give you an example question here. Okay. So here, this one's an example. Again, remember, you can use the examples, and maybe especially for the first day, you're going to skip maybe some of those exercises. Okay. Okay, here again, here's the purpose question for the day. Okay, but this one's for reading. It's going to be pretty much identical, okay, to what we just did in the listening. Example question of it. And then the practice. Okay, so if you look on this one, so there's a lot of practices. If you think about it, it's about 6 practices. Each of them is a paragraph. For some of the students, right, obviously we're teaching them test taking skills. So we want them to quickly be able to identify the answers and be able to answer these questions in roughly about a minute. That's pretty much your goal almost, okay? Long-term goal is to be able to answer a question in about a minute. And that's taking a factor like Eagle, even Alba, Alba Plus as we move on. Obviously, it's not going to happen right away. I don't know, just as a tip for me personally, one thing that I'll do is obviously they'll be unsynchronized here, okay, because it's like a simulation test, so they can move as fast or as slow as they want. What I'll do is I'll put eyes on the teacher, right, so no one can see what's on my TV, and then I'll just click through, right, and I'll see which students are like doing well and which students aren't doing well maybe. So it's kind of makes my life a little bit easier to identify who I can help more or who I need more attention to. So let's say I have a student, they're doing a fantastic job, and say they're on question number 4 and they're just like kind of sitting there, but they've put in the answer and it's like the answer 3 is correct. I'll just tell them, I'm like, yeah, Josiah, great job, number 4, move on to number 5, right? Just to give them that positive reinforcement to let them know like, hey, you got it right, good job. It is a practice, but I still, especially in the beginning, want to give them positive praise and support. Okay. At the same point, say I had a student who had this one wrong, right? I was like, oh, just like go back, you got time. We still got time. Go back to number 4. I want you to double check that one. Okay. Or I might come up to them and say, hey, can you show me in the essay, where did you get this answer? Can you show me? And then if they can't show me, I'm like, oh, okay. Why don't you double check? Okay. Double check. Right. Sometimes they'll be able to identify it's wrong themselves. There's nothing wrong, I think, personally, with students getting 100% on a practice test. Okay. Does that make sense? And that just helps me help them a little bit easier and give some more individual attention. Be careful though. Some of the younger kids, then they'll keep pestering you all the time. Is it right? Is it right? Is it right? I'm like, I don't know yet. Hold on, I'm checking. I was like, yes, you're good. Move. Okay. But then obviously you want to justify the answers and make note of it, but it also makes my justification a lot easier because, for example, let's say the student who I went to who realized this is wrong, I can then just ask them, right? I'd be like, Josiah, what about number 2? Was number 2 correct or incorrect? Incorrect. Why was it incorrect? Oh, they said it wasn't about how it could be managed, right? We didn't learn what it meant to be managed, okay? Okay. Oh, great job. Okay. And then I can ask somebody else, oh, why is number 3 correct then, right? So I'm kind of doing that justification process at the same time, and it helps me save a little bit of time.
Okay.
Okay. That's really about it, my brother.
Okay.
You do the practices. Like I said, the main thing that you're really going to want to make sure you check in the guide is the grade input, okay? The grade inputs you have to do for the speaking, as well as just all the grades that need to be uploaded, okay? So everything that's purple, something has to be basically timed and uploaded, okay? So double check those. Make sure you upload your grades. That's probably the one thing, because it's nothing like any of the other programs where you have to just upload every 3 weeks, stuff like that. The speaking is a little bit difficult, or different, not difficult, for most teachers, because they're not used to actually sitting down and grading them like that. So make sure you're prepared to write some good notes, or be able to give them, you know, positive feedback. I guess the only other, I don't know, the only other thing I can think of that maybe will be a little bit tricky will be just to remember to print out those vocabulary sheets at the beginning. And then afterwards, it should make more sense and it'll be easier and easier, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Just as a note, also, if you do happen to teach the upper level programs, it's almost identical to what this program is. The only difference is there is no novel workshop. Yeah, there's no novel workshop. That's probably the biggest difference, but you're going to have the same thing test prep. Don't quote me on that, though.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. But as far as the levels for the low and mid, it's pretty much the exact same as this. You'll be teaching a different book, novel book, but the skills and everything else will basically be identical.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
I guess the only question that I came across, I'm sorry, it was from a little, I think, actually, never mind. Wrote the answer down. So we are good. So
Okay. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me at my email, you can, I don't know, find me somewhere if you have a GW group or whatever, the group where I think I'm supposed to send you this. This is a link I'm sending.
okay.
This is a survey, just basically what did you think about the workshop? If you thought I was horrible, be sure to tell them. That way they know. Okay, I think that's it, man. I think if you have any questions, just email me, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, have a good day.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.